he used to stuff like socks in his wetsuit to make his package look bigger. Dude, I'm telling you, he put something there, dude.
Well, it worked. Did he rattle you?
I was like, dude,
Couldn't look away. You couldn't
his
look
dong
away.
is gnarly.
Welcome to Water People, a podcast about the aquatic experiences that shape who we become back on land. I'm your host, Lauren Hill, joined by my partner, Dave Rastovich. Here we get to talk story with some of the most interesting and adept waterfolk on the planet. We acknowledge the Bundjalung Nation, the traditional custodians of the land and waters where we work and play, who have cared for this sea country for tens of thousands of years. Respect and gratitude to all First Nations people, including elders past, present, and emerging. This season is supported by Patagonia, whose purpose-driven mission is to use business to save our home planet. Today we're in conversation with Sterling Spencer. He's a pro surfer and media maker from Florida's Gulf Coast. Following his lineage, Sterling was signed to surf sponsorship by age 8 and had a successful amateur career before chasing the pro tour. Sterling was an early internet adopter who found his stride not in competitive surfing, but in making good fun of a largely earnest surf industry and culture. He's known for blending high-performance surfing with comedic skits in films like Gold and Surf Madness, and he's the host of Pinch My Salt, a mashup surf and comedy podcast, quote, where surf culture gets roasted, worshipped, and flipped upside down. Sterling was the subject of the 2024 film Are You Serious?, that traces his diagnosis and recovery from traumatic brain injury, a health threat that's been taken more seriously in the last decade or so. Pro surfers like Owen Wright, Albie Lair, Courtney Conalog, and Koa Smith, amongst others, have all sustained traumatic brain injuries. Sterling's concussion was the result of a fin to the head, but we now know that violent wipeouts themselves can cause concussion and traumatic brain injury. We caught up with Sterling about his ongoing recovery, the comedic brain, crisis as creative fuel, making surfing his own again, and the impact of glimpsing mystical creatures. We always begin with the same question, and that is about a time or experience after which you were never the same. Can you share a story like that with us?
In my early 30s, after Billabong went under and everything in the surfing industry kind of paused, I kind of didn't know what to do with myself. I got really into meditation. I was doing Wim Hof breathing, and I was in the woods all day, breathing and meditating, and I thought I became enlightened, and I was really soul searching. And then not too long after that, I got into a really bad accident. I got a really bad brain injury, and I'll never forget when I had the brain injury, my whole world changed. Going through intense suffering kind of woke me up to oh, now I'm entering a new chapter in my life where now I'm really learning to be a human. So that was for sure the biggest shift in my life.
What felt hard before that brain injury?
What was hard was my entitlement. That was really the biggest block in my life.
In what ways? What did you feel entitled to?
Well, my dad was a pro surfer. That world is the only thing I ever knew. My chores were you need to win East Coast championships. My world was so to be a pro surfer where if I wasn't climbing that rank, it was what is life? So I didn't have a really good grasp of reality. It felt like I had such a wonderful life, but to be a great surfer, you're chasing this perfectionism that's unattainable to your ego and stuff. So it's you're never satisfied. And then I started to realizing I'm missing out on life because the only reason of living is for the experience. Mm-hmm. So it's when you start getting older, you're the only thing that matters is being with those people or being present.
Can I ask, when you had that moment before the accident and your brain being impacted.
By a freak, it was a freak accident, right? It was like wind caught a shortboard and it hit you in the head.
Yeah, it was like a knee-high day, and it was just really windy, and it just caught my board, and I didn't know where it was, and then it just hit me in the back of the head. My legs stopped working after that, and it was a huge wake-up call.
Did anything stick with you from that moment in the bush where you felt like really enlightened? Did that stay with you, or was that gone?
Even though that, looking back at that now, that was a super important part of my life because if I didn't do all that meditation, I don't think I could have survived the brain injury.
Why? What makes you say that?
Brain injury is another level of, it's really hard to explain. It's like doing ayahuasca, but it never stops.
Wow.
And it's just, you're hallucinating constantly, and you're just, for me, I was crippled. So a lot of people that aren't crippled, I think it's almost maybe even harder because they can keep walking around and not know what they're doing.
They look normal from the outside.
Yeah, they look normal. For me, I couldn't walk, so at least people were like, I couldn't go and be crazy anywhere.
Can you talk about that, the process of getting a diagnosis? Because I've known quite a few people now who have mysterious symptoms and have to go through the hell of specialists and GPs and trying to find the right person and getting a diagnosis. And what change did that make?
Well, when I hit my head, the effects didn't happen overnight. Like the concussion or the brain injury, it just slowly kept getting worse. And I didn't understand how to treat a brain injury because I went and got scans, and normally they can't really detect brain injuries.
Oh, wow.
Unless there's brain bleeding of some sorts. I was having a hard time talking. I was having a hard time forming thoughts in the correct way. I was having a hard time like walking around corners. It was losing comprehension of everything. What took me down is I got COVID. It was right when COVID was happening, like a few months before COVID hit. And I already have had a few weird diseases in my life.
Like what? That
Like
you can talk about?
I got malaria. I had malaria as a kid. That was fun.
From where?
Went my first trip to Indo.
Oh, it's like my worst nightmare for traveling with a child.
Took that on the chin, like straight out of the gate. And then I got Lyme disease.
Oh, wow.
There's this girl right now, her name's Becca. I don't know if y'all follow her. She's a surfer, but she had a brain injury, and her Lyme disease came out after 2 years with her brain injury.
Oh, wow.
So it's like if you have these diseases that don't ever really go away, they'll just resurface when they were dormant. So I felt like I had like a concoction of just, when COVID hit me, it was just like I could barely lift my arm. Just that took me everything I had. So I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I went to like the hospital and they're like, oh, he's depressed. I'm like, I didn't know depressant can like make you completely crippled. But when they don't know something, they'll just throw antidepressants at it. That's usually their go-to.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And so you obviously kept pushing, and how did you get to a diagnosis?
It was wild. Everything I learned throughout my life of just, even though it was so scary to go through, I feel like if you go through something really gnarly and you're able to come out, like you're one of the most blessed people to walk the earth, because you just can't be the same anymore. You're lucky you can like walk away from like your selfish life.
That's so interesting. Yeah. That just makes me think of that experience of how I guess we were as young kids and teenagers and getting pulled into the surfing world and splash in the water and having little tantrums because we didn't make a certain turn that you wanted to make, or whatever, or you missed a wave in front of your heroes and you have a little internal meltdown. Yeah, one of those things where you really do need a slap in the face to come out of that kind of headspace, don't you think? Like you don't wish it on upon yourself, and you don't wish it really upon others in a harmful way, but we really do need that, because that kind of behavior is like cool when you're 7 to maybe 14 years of age and you don't know better and you're just a
Yeah.
kid. You're finding your parameters, you're finding your edges of how to be a brat and not be a brat and all of that. Did you ever have anyone modeling that behavior for you, like when you were a kid? I'll be curious to know, like, if you could look up when you were a little fella and see someone who was being a man, but like a playful man, not
Yeah.
being like a little boy. Did you have any role models like that that helped light the way a little bit?
Well, comedy was always my relief. Like my dad was a very stoic person. Like he was a 70s, he's one of the first pro surfers. He won the first pro surfing contest in America in the early 70s. So his whole world, he came from nothing. So surfing was absolutely everything. It gave him a whole new life, and he was a super Christian. So everything was just so serious. Like it was so serious about God and then so serious about surfing.
Wow.
I had the best life, but it was also like the pressure. I don't know if kids had to, I'm sure lots of kids did, but it's like I was just kind of the classic, your dad's a famous star and here's his pressure and everyone puts it on you. As a kid, comedy was always just like an escape of it because I'm a firm believer if you don't find your passion, if you don't like want yourself and someone pushes you to a passion, it's always this tug of war. There'll always be a tug of war in your life because it's like, am I doing it for myself? And if you can't know if you're doing it for yourself, it's really hard to get full fulfillment.
Was that a bit of a renaissance in your surfing life after the brain injury then? Did you come back to surfing with a renewed sense of like ownership that it was yours?
What was what was so interesting, surfing gave me the brain injury and surfing healed me from the brain injury. It was so hard to get my legs working again. That was the hardest thing to figure out, getting that connection back moving. I could kind of like stand and get to the kitchen and I'd have like a yoga ball and get to the yoga ball and everyone was like, just be in a wheelchair, just stay in your walker. And I was just like, it scared me to submit to it because I felt like if I submit to it, I'm never going to get out of it. So I went to Hawaii after 2 years of like laying in a dark room. I went to Hawaii and I remember I like crawled to the water. My friend Marshall, he would help me paddle out. I would hold on to his leash and he would drag me out to the lineup. We were surfing V-Land and stuff. And when a wave came, it was like everything turned on. My nervous system reacted to it. And it was like the part of my brain that knew how to surf was like, it was all there. So it was like a different part of my brain took over, and I was just like, whoa. I would just stand up and surf, and I could ride it, and I didn't have much muscle, so that was the hard part. So when I started surfing, I was like, oh my God, like this is it. This is how I'm going to heal myself. But
That
it was
reminds me that reminds me so much of Pauline Mentzer's story.
I was about to say
I
that
just
too.
basically exactly what you said on the
Really?
North Shore. Before she won her first world title, she was struggling with debilitating arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. Couldn't walk. Had a friend basically help her down to the water. She couldn't brush her hair. She was just all locked up. And then got in the water and she won a world title. Like just
That's crazy.
yeah.
During that time, I went and stayed with Rob Machado. There was a brain clinic right next to his house, and they were all just like, "This guy's lying." Because I'd be around the house and like I couldn't help do anything. Like they would cook dinner and I felt bad because I couldn't like wash a dish, to show respects. But then they would take me surfing and I'm like having a hell time and they're like, he's fine.
Wow.
and they're like, "Are you are you
Wow.
lying?" So it was such a vulnerable place in my life, like to just be dependent on people, and the people aren't fully believing me. And I'm already a trickster. I'm already a comedian. Like I don't have the best reputation of being serious. So it was it was like it was kind of like the boy who cried wolf a little bit.
That's a challenge. Can I ask, did your dad ever laugh at your buffoonery and your jokes? So you said that when you were a kid, that was your response to that. Would you do that around him and in response to him? And did it ever land? Was he laughing with you and like grabbing you like, oh, that was a
Mm,
good one, son?
no, my mom loved my humor, and if I made her laugh hard enough, he would start laughing, and he's like, "I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at her."
Oh my, that's such a Florida man.
That's a Florida man.
That's such a Florida man.
Yeah, that's
I grew
your
up with a
dad,
guy
100%.
just like that. So
He once
stoic.
he once told me, he's like, I don't like funny surfers. And I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, your favorite movie's Endless Summer too, and it's the funniest movie ever. Like,
It's all
I
about
don't
the
know.
comedy.
He was just, yeah, we were polar opposites.
Wow, what a trip. I liked hearing the other day, we were listening to a bunch of things you've made, and you said that when you were a kid, you tripped out on the fact that when you would surf in contests, you were more interested in making him happy than you being happy.
Oh yeah.
Is that something you have clarity around these days, or did you know that at the time?
I didn't know at the time. I didn't figure that out till after he passed away and I started doing like therapy and stuff. Looking back now, I'm like, all the like young kids, we were like, our dads treated us like the roosters that fight each other, cockfighting. It's like we're kind of like all of our dads are living through us and like making us hate each other to get competition out. And it was weird. I remember I would surf in my heats and I would be cheering my friends on and stuff. And I remember I came to the beach, my dad's like, You don't cheer people on. Like you want to beat them. You want to like yell at them." And I was like, "Really? Oh, okay." And my next heat, I went and just yelled at my friend for no reason. I was like, "Wah! Come to my island!" And it rattled him so. He lost. It took him years to let it go. I was like, my dad told me to do it. I don't know. It just felt kind of cool.
So was it you that had the story about Kelly Slater saying, "Are you going left at J-Bay?" So is he pretty much doing the same? Is that what you all do in Florida? Like you just heckle each other to rattle each other off of a wave?
Is that a Floridian thing?
Like, is that
Yeah,
true? Was that
maybe.
him to you? Am I getting that right in my memory?
Yeah,
Yeah.
my first WCT, I was so excited to surf against Kelly Slater. It was one of the first events that was on the webcast on Surfline. It was kind of that era, the early O's transition. And I was just so excited because my brother was good friends with Kelly. So I was like, oh, he probably knows who I am. He knows my brother. Like, he's going to take me under his wing and we're going to be like good friends.
It's just so delusional.
And I
I can see
remember
why
the
you would
first,
think that, though. I
Yeah,
can see why
I can
you would.
relate actually. I'll join in with this in a moment, but continue, please.
so becoming Kelly's competitor, it was like entering a new realm. This is like Kelly's imaginary realm. And all of a sudden he's just so stiff and he walks straight up to me and doesn't say anything, just stares at me. He's like just breathing. And I'm like, oh, hey Kelly, do you know my brother? He's like, yeah, I know your brother. And then he just like walks by me, like hits my shoulder, like, "Eek."
Oh, he shoulder bumped you?
Oh yeah, he like walked straight through me. He had his he had his white wetsuit. It was his white
Oh
wetsuit
yeah,
era.
powerful. Yeah.
And you're 19?
I was probably 18 or 19.
Yeah.
And he used to stuff like socks in his wetsuit to make his package look bigger. Dude, I'm telling you, he put something there, dude.
Well, it worked. Did he rattle you?
I was like,
Couldn't
dude,
look away. You couldn't
his
look
dong
away.
is gnarly. But in the heat, my first heat was against Andy, and he's like, "Oh, you have Kelly in your next heat." He was like, "Just make sure you catch the first wave, and it'll rattle Kelly." So I like hid up the point and waited for the heat to start. And then when the heat started, he thought I wasn't out there, and then I paddled around, and then a set came, and so I was just like, Andy put me in the perfect spot, dude. Like, and I'm like paddling, and then I like look this way, and then when I like turn back, he was like that close to me, like, and he was so close, I could feel his breath. He's like, "You going left?" And it just like, I'm like, and I caught the wave, and it's like all I could think about was like, "Am I going left? Like it's a right? Like what is he talking?"
Oh my lord! Wow.
So, yeah,
Well,
yeah, that was my Kelly.
so did you lose?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
So-
what came of that event? I feel like that might have been a turning point as well.
That was such a cool experience because I was such a kid in my mind, like I drank everything up. Like that's what was so cool about it. I was just really drinking it up. Like it felt like I really understood where I was. I understood how the magnitude of Andy and Kelly. And this is when you were filming Blue Horizon. It was that era. So
Oh
it was
yeah,
just
Andy, full flight. Yep.
yeah, it was just a really special era. And
Yeah.
so I just couldn't believe I got to that place. Like I was just like, I just felt like the luckiest person in the world. Like I was like, how did I get here? Like
That's amazing. That kind of presence and self-awareness maybe doesn't lend to winning.
yeah. I didn't have I always struggled with the competitor in me. It was like as soon I had the competitiveness, and then as soon as a contest started, it was like the nerves, and by the time I'd surf a heat, it was just like I
Was
just
there
couldn't.
That was your first WCT event. Was there something about like dipping your toes into that level of seriousness that either pushed you away or made you want to step into it further?
That's what it actually made me really confused, because it was like it didn't make me want to do it more. It didn't make me want to stop, but I was expecting, like when you go to Indo the first time, you want to go back, like. But something about that, I was kind of just, it was confusing for sure. It was like, because back then, I mean, Rasta, you were kind of the first person to like, you have a great line, I think it's in Blue Horizon, when you're saying like, you told Billabong you just wanted to go surf, and you're like, it just opened up this path. And I remember watching like your hands, and I kind of was definitely inspired by that. Because I wanted to be a pro surfer, but I just didn't want to be kind of a slave to the ASP at the time.
Yeah, it's a tricky space for sure. And that was like unknown territory in a way, because really only those sort of, left-hand branches of the surfing tree were just sprouting then. Like you said, Margot, Frankie O in South Africa, who was sponsored by Rip
Yeah.
Curl, really were the only guys who had gotten backing to live a totally sort of loose, free surfing life and dive, super deep into it without being previous like world champions and stuff,
Yeah.
So it was all very new, but then like what those new sort of branches looked like, no one knew. Like I was doing my thing, and it was probably just, writing strange boards and doing strange activism things was enough of a interesting point for me to do this. But then it's like, okay, was there a comedic sort of genius to another branch coming out? Well, no one had grown something like that before. There was no one to follow. So growing into the person you are now was super new territory. Like, who can you look at to do that? There's lots of funny people in surfing.
And funny moments.
And funny moments, but, like, making it something that you could, like, devote yourself to, it is very new. So, like, when that was starting to happen, what did you use to water that part of you and put some light on that and start to grow it?
That was one of the most magical times of my life, because I felt like I had found myself and my passion, and the internet had come, and it hit this point. I was like trying to follow your footsteps. I was trying to follow like Machado's footsteps, but like to create your own path, I can't be Rasta. I have to be me if I'm really gonna make my own path. So I kind of realized, I was like, well, I can't be them. So what is me? Like, what's true to me? And it was always, humor and comedy. And just when the internet was coming around, one of my friends was like this super computer nerd, and he was just like, have you heard of blogging? And I was like, what's blogging? Like, this was like before MySpace era. Like, and he was like, blogging was this underworld where everyone who like had their dial-up computer would tap into the internet. So I was filming Still Filthy, or it was a little bit before Still Filthy, the Billabong movie.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of just doing comedy stuff as a rebellion because of my father. And I was also scared of what Billabong would think. Like, I kind of only felt accepted in Australia with Billabong, because I feel like Australians just have this super lightheartedness, and like, if you take yourself too seriously, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So it was just kind of like a melting pot of all of it. And it was kind of a secret for years, and people would hear about it. And when I started just feeling the energy, there was just an energy to it. It was just like, I would go somewhere and like kids would like, dude, I watch your blog after school every day. And like, and I just felt like I found this new secret world with the internet. I jumped head over heels in. It took actually 5 years for anyone to actually see it. And It was like Andy was a big part of helping me get to that spot. Andy was actually really a really important person in my life, because, he was falling off tour and he was feeling lost. And something about my energy and his energy, like, yeah, let's just have fun. Like, like,
Yep.
he was soul searching too. He was just like, because his body was starting to fail him, and he was kind of losing his identity and stuff. And he like told Billabong, he's like, you gotta give this guy what he wants. Like, you need to give him a movie or whatever he does on the internet.
You sound exactly like him and look exactly like him when you do that. That was unbelievable. That's so good.
A lot of things came into place. And when Dane Reynolds took off doing the internet, that's when I kind of rode his coattails, because I already had a huge platform. And then I was just like, oh, this is insane.
I feel like comedians are some of the most intelligent people amongst us. And I also get the sense that comedians tend to be really sensitive and also prone to mental health challenges. What do you know?
That was the nicest way to say it.
With
You're all crazy.
Like in the best way that we all need in our lives. Like, what have you learned about comedians' brains? Is there something that sets you all apart from us boring, mere mortal, earnest people?
Maybe it's because we have broken hearts and, we're looking for healing in a way we don't understand. And making people laugh, that energy brings healing. Being a comedian, for me, when I was 27, I was like really suicidal and I didn't know why. I feel like we all have to like stop what you're doing in life and learn how to just work this machine first. And if you're a comedian, I feel like you're on the spectrum, like you are thinking in ways people don't normally think, and that's really fun and exciting. But if you don't know how to turn it off and go be a normal person, it destroys people. And that's what I learned. Like you can destroy yourself with too much fun. I've learned to pick up comedy and then set it down and then go be Sterling, like just a normal human, just walking around. I think a lot of comedians want to die for their art too, though. Like they don't want to be normal. They want to be the funniest. And
That energy is totally addictive, isn't it? Like
oh,
provoking people, getting laughs is,
yeah,
yeah.
I really love like Jack Johnson's life. Like he's one of the most famous musicians ever. And then you see him on the North Shore and he's just like he's just two eyeballs walking around like, oh hey. And I got a lot of inspo from him and his music. Just, sometimes extremes aren't the best, even if you can do them.
Tough to manage. Almost no one does it well. He's like one of very few people who can manage those extremes well.
Yeah. So I look for balance in life now rather than, chasing. I just try not to chase anything, I guess. Like that's where I've found more peace in my life. Just I practice being a nobody. Like I get scared watching famous people getting too much. I'm like, dude.
That would have been a major evolution for you, having grown up with someone who's, your dad, whose identity was wrapped up in being someone. Like that was the masculinity that was modeled for you. It was like you're a man when you mean something to other people. How do you?
Well, I got to a place where I was like, I can't get any more pictures in the magazine, or like I can't. It's like we're gonna do another trip. I can't do another air reverse. Like it's like there's got to be more meaning to all this because not I didn't think I was like the biggest and best, but I started like looking at normal people and I was like, I want to just like not have anxiety. Like to chase fame and to chase the world we lived in, you sacrifice your sanity, I feel like. Like, I mean, look, Andy's a great example. He kind of gave it all for the world titles, and he had nothing left after.
Yeah.
How did you go with that?
Yeah, that makes me think of what we were talking about earlier, La, about, I guess, knowing what to look out for when we're kids and then into our teenage years with that kind of thing. So like I had a dad who was an extreme character as well, and he didn't place like pressure on surfing for me, but he kind of showed me what to look out for in terms of like mental struggles and then the inevitable physical struggles from that. So I had like a bit of a warning system there for myself to be like, okay, I got to watch out for some of the tendencies that I have that are similar to my dad's tendencies. And so,
like what?
Well, like dark clouds, extreme moodiness, or being judgmental and extremism in any way, like just extreme physical stuff or just extremism. But what it did for me was like he was having the hardest times in his life really when I was a young teenage kid. And a way for me to get through all of that was to go surfing. It wasn't really to like hang out with people to like talk it out with my buddies or anything. Like I was just a loner guy that would just go surfing, and just that was enough for me. So then when I came into all the contest world, which was, you know, a lot of us get railroaded when you show technical skills as a kid, you know, your parents or your community, whatever it is, but generally the culture has had a history of putting you on a track and just being like, this is you, and they railroad you into commodifying and making competitive your surfing. But for me, as a teenager, I knew that I couldn't actually cope with life in any way, if I couldn't go surfing and it be just simply surfing. I couldn't handle any story on top of it. So I did the monkey dance. I played the game and I did competitions. I did good enough as I had to keep being sponsored. But I kept it really at arm's length because I knew I didn't have the strength in me to deal with challenges in my life if I lost that, if I lost the surfing joy and the ability to just go in the water and kind of all of a sudden stand up on a wave like you, even with your brain injury, standing up and you can surf, even in the middle of all the shitstorm of your life. You could stand up on a board and ride a wave, and somehow, for some reason, at the end of the ride, you were better off. And so I knew as a kid that that was something to look out for, and I wasn't going to trade it. Like when I went to Billabong and asked to still be sponsored, but to like basically be invisible, like I wanted to disappear, and people would send them some photos every now and again, and that would be enough to tick the box. But I just wanted to disappear and surf, and I was going to be a barman. Actually, I was just going to sling drinks at cocktail bars around the world. That was my master plan. They said, no worries, give it a year, we'll see how you go, just give it 1 year, you're only 19, 20, let's see what happens. And everything after that was fine, but I didn't want to lose my main coping mechanism. And this is where I think our conversation is really fun and everything, but also very useful, because I feel like you also have this story, or you especially have the story of experiencing that fine line of what you put at risk when you're a kid and you get railroaded into that world, and that you potentially lose your main coping mechanism in the inevitable turbulent times of being a teenager. Sure. And we were really keen to just hear what you had to say about that, because you already speak of this when you do your recordings and your chats and everything. And I think it's really awesome that you touch on it, because it bums me out when I see kids in our area, which is a surf-rich area, and I see kids being railroaded, and I think those parents are wonderful people, but I don't think they realise the game they're playing and the risks for their child. Yeah. When they set them on that path. So just wondering what thoughts you have around that, brother.
If we could just focus on kids finding themselves rather than being someone that's already just trying to reach a result. I feel like, I don't know if the new kids feel this as much, but I feel like your generation and my generation, it's like the whole Kelly Slater, it was like the magazines try to brainwash everyone, like, who's the next Kelly? Who's the next Kelly? And it kind of put this pressure on every single surfer of like, if you don't become Kelly, you're not worth anything.
And that's the purpose of surfing. As if that were the purpose of this.
Right. And it was just like, I think, that was what I was struggling with. If you're just not doing your passion, nothing really means anything.
And it's not unique to surfing. I think that's important to say. We went to a jiu-jitsu comp a couple of weekends ago. Our son, he's 8, and he's just gotten interested in jiu-jitsu. And so we're watching people roll, and it was so intense and kind of scary.
Energy.
Yeah, that energy, but also like watching parents. I was watching this little blonde-headed girl go red in a headlock She was pinned, and her mom was yelling like, "Get out of there! Get out of there! Come on!" And I was just watching this tiny girl's eyes and her body go into this fight or flight state, and I was just kind of like, "What are we doing here?
Yeah, this is kind of gnarly."
It's super gnarly, and it just made me want to ask you about, you had expectations pushed onto you from your dad's dreams for you, and also his dreams for himself, I can imagine. How does that go now that you're a parent and you have a son? How does that change how you surf with him or don't surf with him or parent him in general?
Yeah, it's been tricky because it's like the injured animal in me will come out. And it's almost like I want him to feel the torture I felt. And I'll have to stop myself because I want to push him. And when I was 9, I was surfing all winter with no wetsuit. It's kind of a natural reaction. And luckily, I put enough work into myself to be like, my goal every day with him is just to love them the way I wish I was loved. And that is just the most fulfilling. It's like I feel like I'm stopping the curse. I'm stopping the generational curse for who knows how long has been going on, and just loving him for him. It's super satisfying. Like, he doesn't surf and I wish he did because I would love to spend more time with him because, I'm a surf dog. And, but I'm just so proud of him. I feel like we've kept a beautiful enough space around him where what I'm so proud about him is I can tell he cares about people. And I'm just like, you're so ahead of the game, dude. Like, if you can care about people already, you're going to have a good life because you
That's
can care about
beautiful.
yourself. You can't care about yourself if you don't care about other people. You just can't do it. I just feel super proud of, for myself and, for him. Like, every day I fight that part of dad in me.
And we all have that. We all have different demons and intergenerational tendencies that we have to face.
What are your Florida tendencies like?
Well, I wanted to get to Florida.
Oh, yeah, let's dive into Florida.
I wanted to get to
please.
Florida because I remember being 20 and going off traveling and surfing, like obviously different than the way you two were doing it, but going off into the world from a small town, a small island off the coast of Florida. And I remember telling one of my aunties, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to Thailand and these other Southeast Asian countries." And she was like, "Be careful. There's false gods out there."
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. You two just connected right then. That was,
They'll get you.
They laid hands on me before I went to Bali. This pastor said the gnarliest prayer, like, he's going to fight the devil and it's going to be gnarly. And so I'm like heading to Bali. I'm like, dude, I'm ready to like fight people. And then I get there and you knew Dustin Humphrey, right?
Yeah.
His guy first.
Yeah.
Do you remember him? He's like the nicest guy ever.
Yep.
He comes, picks me up, and he's like, hello, like doing everything for me. I'm like, this is the nicest human I've ever met. Like, no one's ever looked out for me like this. And I got immersed into the Bali, like I was like, dude, take me to the temples. And I just would follow him around, and that opened my mind up, like, okay, there's like way bigger of a world than the bubble I grew in, and not everyone's not going to hell. It's going to be okay.
Wow. But you came back with malaria, so was there like an exorcism when you came back?
Well,
Or wanted
actually,
exorcism?
I actually already had it. I went on a boat trip when I was 14. I went to Bali a little older.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I went and stayed with Dustin Humphrey and stuff, and I didn't go to Bali the first time. Some reason they understood that Bali is like the devil, It's
the
got
island of the
reputation.
gods.
Yeah. Plural.
That's the problem. All right, come on, dig up some more Florida gold for me, you two.
I'm just curious to know, like, so you moved to California, had this illustrious career, forged a new pathway in surfing and then have ended up back in Florida. And I'm just like, how is that for you? And how has the culture there changed or not changed? And what's happening in surfing in Florida? We go back sort of every couple years, and I don't
Well,
necessarily, yeah.
you were
Tell us.
lucky to get you were lucky to get out.
You
I
could have
don't
chosen
really.
that too.
Well, I lived in Hawaii for like most of my teenage to young adult life, and I didn't really want to leave Hawaii, but you had to go to California. Everyone has to be in California because that's where the mags are. Okay, like I'll go live in San Diego. And San Diego messed with me, dude.
A lot of people, I think, have
I
that feeling.
It was like, are my shorts on right? Do I have the right color patterns? Do I have the right Vans slip-ons? There was so much pressure to look to be a certain way, and the mags were watching you and like rewarding you, and like I really that was the most I've ever lost myself. Like,
The self-consciousness, huh? I feel like that's a
yeah,
glimpse into being a woman in this world.
for sure. No, for sure, absolutely. Like it was just like weird, and I loved Hawaii so much because it was more primal there. It was like who had the gnarliest sweatpants, and like it was like kind of the total opposite of who's the guy. You ride the biggest waves, and you wear the sweatpants, and like who could not wear a shirt the longest, and so it was like a really hard transition for me because I felt like from Florida, that's our vibe too, you know? Like the
Yeah.
less you care is kind of the more core you are. So California messed with my brain, and I went back to Florida and asked why it happened. And so it was like when I had a child here, it was just like, when you become a parent, it's like you got to be near family, you're kind
Yeah.
of in the trenches,
It's not just about you anymore.
But yeah, it was. And when I kind of got stuck in Florida, that's when I was like, well, I'm going to make the most of this. So I started meditating, and you're going to just, I was so excited about meditation because I finally got away from anxiety for the first time in my life, and just really opened my mind to just, wow, like there's so much to just being alive.
I've heard you speak about your ex, Sterling, and all good if you don't want to talk about this. That's fine. It's kind of personal, but it was so interesting to hear you talk about someone who loved you. You got to experience someone loving you, whether or not you were successful as a pro surfer. And you said that she didn't really understand your mental health challenges because she hadn't experienced them, but she had a huge heart, and you felt like she came into your life to help heal you. And I'm just wondering, from where you're at now, do you think that other people can heal us, or that we have to do that work ourselves?
Romantic love and your co-partner love, your child's mother love. It's it's some of the trickiest love because it doesn't always come in a beautiful package. Like getting along with someone. I learned so much the first years of my son being born, and then with the brain injury. They happened for a reason at the time I needed, and I didn't understand it. And that's what's so beautiful about life. You kind of make mistakes or do things you don't plan on at a certain time, but it's amazing how life can just bloom anything, like because I was like, oh, I had a kid, and like this is gnarly, and I'm so selfish. And then the brain injury, and it was just like, looking back, looking that time with her, it's like, even though it was brutal and it was hard and it brought the worst out of both of us and the best, and it's nice to be able to get to hindsight and just be like, you know what, I'm grateful for you,
Yeah.
no matter what has happened, it's like you can kind of, I feel like the worst thing in life is just holding on to stuff forever, you know, like I'm just kind of getting to the place in life where it's like just kind of really learning how to forgive. It's one of the hardest things I've tried to do, and it's almost like you just surrender. It's like
That's
I
yeah.
just don't want my heart to feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
Forgiveness. That's so. I feel like that's something that's probably spoken on Sunday mornings all over Florida. And you'd hope that's, you know, at the core of those teachings and that work, that's one of those pillars, you know, forgiveness.
And that was another circle in life, you know, because Christianity really made me not like Jesus, you know?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, actually, Jesus is awesome. It's just the people that build the
Yeah.
buildings for it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
make their own interpretations.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've said that you're the most creative when you're in crisis. I feel like that really echoes this archetype of the struggling artist that a lot of us know personally. Do you still feel that way? Or do you feel like in this pursuit of balance, you've found creative practice through other means?
I guess what I've learned is to try to plan as much as you can, but don't over plan, because you know the art of comedy or the art of surfing is spontaneous. Learning how to balance my life just enough to where I can still be a mad scientist a little bit, because like with our podcast, we don't plan anything. Like not one thing. We just sit together and we're like, oh, and it just and it's so fun because I don't know what's gonna come out of my mouth, you know? So I'm almost in awe. It's like it's almost like I'm a fan of the universe at the moment, watching it do its thing. And I'm like honored it chose me to translate it, you know? Like it's a really fun, cool experience, just like surfing. It's the same thing. It's you just, you know,
Riding the energy.
to just have an open mind on a wave is just like,
And it's so obvious when it's not like that, hey? Because look at the cultural cringe we all have when we see someone doing it in a contrived way. And you can tell, oh, that arm up there like that. Oh, yeah, that's from Dora. Thread through this guy, through that guy, through that lady, through to you.
Yeah.
That's an act right there. And we cringe. But like at the center of that cringe is the fact that we know that in that moment when we are dancing because we know everyone's watching, that's not as good as it gets. The best it gets is when you, like you said, you're just a fan of the universe doing its thing through you and everything else. It's really
when you get the organic feeling, it's just there's nothing sweeter. Like
and wasn't that Andy's deal? Like you look at Andy and you go, oh yeah, that's the way he surfed. Like you wouldn't write that down as like a textbook style master thing, but it was so him that then he became someone who's like everyone wants to have his style and his way of surfing, but he was just there doing that, like you said, spontaneously.
for sure. I mean, I'm a huge Curran devotee. It's like I will watch Curran, but I try to let him go when I get out. You know,
Let him go, man.
Surrender.
because you'll serve a whole session being Curran, and that's not it. You know.
Yeah.
But he's such a beautiful guiding light. I like to call him like the Buddha of surfing. It's like we can follow his eightfold steps, but eventually when we find it, we have to go on our own.
That's true.
If you've enjoyed listening to the conversation so far, consider also subscribing to Water People on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It'll help other people find the show. And if you're feeling inspired, leave us a review. We love hearing from you. And now a word from the folks who help make the podcast possible. Patagonia is in business to save our home planet. Founded by Yvonne Chenard in 1973, Patagonia is a surf and outdoor apparel company based in Ventura, California. As a certified B Corp and a founding member of 1% for the Planet, the company is recognized internationally for its product quality and environmental activism, as well as its contributions of nearly $230 million to environmental organizations. Its unique ownership structure reflects that the Earth is its only shareholder. Profits not not reinvested back into the business, are paid as dividends to protect the planet. Learn more at patagonia.com.au. Many of us look to supplements and special diets to maintain our health, but ignore the obvious. We are water. It's what we're made of, and it's what supports every bodily function. Primal water, the water our ancestors thrived on, is energized, alkaline, and made for real hydration. It doesn't come from the industrialized, often contaminated water systems most of us rely on. For the last 25 years, Alkaway has been researching and refining ways to mimic natural water systems. We invite you to learn more about primal water and support their charitable work with BirdLife Australia. Head to alkaway.com to score a $50 discount using code WATERPeople. That's alkaway.com. What do you do when your sunglass lenses inevitably get scuffed or scraped? The top drawer of our kitchen island was where scratched sunglasses went to die, until we learned about the Sunglass Fix. They've been at the forefront of the repair revolution since 2006 and carry more than 600,000 lens options. So there's a solution for every frame. We found our sunnies on the sunglassfix.com and within a few days received brand new polarized lenses to easily install at home. 1 billion pairs of sunglasses are made each year, with hundreds of millions ending up in landfill. The Sunglass Fix offers free lens shipping in Australia and to 161 countries around the world, as well as subsidized express, tracked shipping worldwide for less than $5 in any currency. They're a proud member of 1% for the Planet and are ready to help make your favorite frames last longer. Use the code WATERPeople for 10% off your purchase today at thesunglassfix.com.
At the end of the year, every year was the only time I would encounter the rest of the surfing industry characters.
Yeah.
I pretty much would zig when everyone zagged all year. And then it was like, as if I'm going to say no to a bedroom on a beachfront house on the North Shore with no rent for a month or so. So I would go. But I always felt like I was on the periphery. I kind of felt a bit awkward. I just do my thing and hang with my closest friends that I hadn't seen for a while or whatever. And I actually remember feeling similar things with you where I'd see you being on the periphery and you were always super kind and friendly and everything. But I don't know, I feel like you would steal away into your quiet zones or whatever pretty often as well. Yeah, anyway, I just was thinking about how we would be in that space. And now, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm looking at the lady from North Shore whose hair turns into the wave. Oh man, I lost that train of thought. What were we talking about before that?
You were talking about both being on the North Shore and being on the periphery.
I wish we would have hung out more.
Yeah, I agree. We would have had a lot of laughs.
I feel like what's funny, I remember this so clear because you were like always hiding. I could tell you. The scene was a lot. I mean, the Billabong house was kind of brutal, even though how lucky we were. It's like every single day there's a party and like...
Yeah, cameras everywhere the whole time.
Yeah, random people just walk through your house like, oh, is so-and-so here? And you're like in your underwear, like open the refrigerator like, what?
Yeah.
But I remember I probably had known you for years, but I was just kind of a grom. And I shaved the funniest mustache. And I remember I was standing there and you looked at me and you're like, you walked up to me like real close and you're like, I get it. I get you now. I get you now. He's like, there he is.
Yeah, the little bit of you that was inside is now on the outside. Did I then tell you to be a vegan?
Well, we one night we're all barbecuing. I was in the bigger house, and I think you were on the kind of the smaller one in the middle, more so.
Yeah.
And we were all barbecuing. We just surfed off the wall, huge. I remember watching you surf off the wall. You were like a low-key charger. Like you sat, because we were all I was sitting at like back door and you're sitting at like outside off the wall. And I remember you just rode this one and then just got the craziest barrel and came in. And I remember like we were sitting off the wall and I had like 10 pieces of chicken in my hand. And I remember I'm like so stoked on you because I just watched you like got that huge barrel, and like I'm eating chicken, and you're just telling me why it's so bad for me.
Just
Oh my
messing with your head.
And I remember just being like, maybe I need to stop because he's freaking charging, and I'm scared.
Oh God, damn it! I was one of those vegans for a while. You just can't help it when you get sucked into it. No, the reason I brought that up was the centaur thing. I remember it now.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I remember that was circulating around the circle of friends at that time and at that space. And I remember Kendall.
Yeah, yeah.
At the time, people started calling me Yeti because I was living in a shack in the bush, and I don't know, I just had Yeti-like tendencies, long arms, and a bit of a scent to me or something. But anyway, I remember people calling me Yeti, and then Kendall was like, "You're not a Yeti. I've seen a real Yeti," and he told us the story of being chased by two
Oh
yowies.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah. I
called
remember
here.
that
You know,
story.
you remember that story? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
for real. And he was like,
And
you know how much.
Gary.
Exactly, Back Beach and
Yeah.
Gary. He's like a funny guy. He's a very funny guy, but
Also a snorter of
Aboriginal.
wasabi.
yeah, Kenny. But he just went stone cold in that moment. Was like, "You're not a Yeti, mate. I've seen a real Yeti," and we all just were like silent, listening to the story. It was unbelievable. So I totally back the centaur experience, and I think. If you're sharing those images with people, that's great because it's a part of the realm that needs to be acknowledged.
Well, I was like, I used to live in the woods growing up, and like a full-on beautiful centaur man just walked up to the front door, and I was so in shock. I was like, so I start screaming. My brother runs to the front door, and it scared him, and he took off. And literally my whole life, I would just I would think about it, and I was like, what was that monster? And it's funny you bring Kendall up, because I was in J Bay. I was with Kendall. I was with Lori Towner. I was with Wade Goodall. We were with Andy. And I told them the story. And Lori, because they seen so many Yetis or whatever, he's like, you saw a centaur. I was like, what? He's like, you saw a centaur, a horseman. And you're friends with Hilton, right?
Oh yeah.
So-
He lives on the land with us, and he's going to be so psyched that we're
What?
talking right now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm so glad I had Hilton in my life back then, because he helped me so much in life. He would have just such beautiful wisdoms for me back then, which my mind was very maybe closed-minded, not on purpose, but he really opened my eyes to it, to the world. I just remember a lot of good conversations with Hilton. Like we're just diving into the universe.
Awesome.
Like a 14-year-old kid, like, and Hilton's just going to the 12th dimension, like, yeah, bro, yeah,
That's it.
bro.
That's it. Yeah. That's the line.
We're going all the way. I'm like, where are we going? I love Hilton so much.
He loves you too.
So Hilton, everyone just did shoeies, so everyone's fired up. And you know how Hilton will start singing songs?
Oh yeah.
He's like, centaur, centaur. And they all start singing it. And then Kendall, he knows how to turn anything into a didgeridoo. But he grabs this like vacuum thing, and he's just like, and this was the night before I served against Kelly Slater.
Well, full
You
circle
were
moment.
primed perfectly. That's he probably wasn't doing something that different the night before.
He was in his underwear stuffing for tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm hearing validation in this story. Did they heard you and they backed you up?
Well, that was a big part of like kind of becoming me, because Surfline interviewed me that morning before my heat, and I was just so scared. I'm like, because it would have been 2 weeks of flatness. So every day it's like Sterling serving against Kelly, and I heard Kelly did this and Kelly did that, and I heard everyone's Kelly story, and like, so by the time that day happened, I was just so nervous. Where I remember Surfline interviewed me. It was GT when he used to do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. That's
And
a
I
name I
just,
haven't heard in years. Yeah. Okay.
and I was just like, I couldn't handle the pressure. And I was just like, I just want people to know that I saw a centaur. And I mean, this was like my big break, you know? And I couldn't, so I just started talking about the centaur because it was like so fresh on everyone's mind.
Yeah, totally. No,
And I
you were
went to
backed
this,
up the night before. That's totally valid. I get it. Yeah.
dude, I told the story and it was like I became famous overnight because it was like such a random thing to do right before serving against Kelly, you know? So everyone, the whole event's like, call me Centaur. And I remember Dean Morrison walked up to me with like a tear in his eye and he's like, did you really see a centaur? Did you? Dude, I saw something too, man. And he like hugs me. He's like, I saw one too. It's kind of like, oh, this big, huge icebreaker for me. Where it's like, okay, I can just kind of be me now. And that was for sure the beginning of kind of the light bulbs in my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, like being myself works so much better
Yeah.
than trying. Because I used to travel with Jordy, and Jordy's the golden child. Me, I have this funny story. Me, Wade Goodall, and Jordy went to South Africa together. And Wade is like the biggest core lord known to man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's so core, and Jordy's the so opposite. Jordy's like the Michael Jackson of the surf world, you know, like. So Wade couldn't stand Jordy, and I'm kind of this in between guy because I'm like from Florida, and it's like you're from Florida, like
Yeah.
you're not even supposed to be here.
Doesn't count. Doesn't even count. Irrelevance.
Jordy was living his passion, and he was supposed to be the golden child, and it was beautiful to watch. But it created this crazy energy where it was like, dude, I can't handle this contest energy. And Wade was there, and Wade had just won the junior championships, I think, the world he won the junior circuit. So he was the guy. Jordy had just won the world juniors. It was like watching this clash of core lord titans, and I was trying to pick which path, like, you know, like just like Jordy's path seems kind of weird. He's kind of fruity. Wade has pine straw for chest hair.
But
Dude.
also comedic. So you look at Wado. So I just surfed with Wado a couple of days ago, and he was so pumped to hear that we were going to have a chat.
Oh man,
And
I love that guy.
oh yeah, we all love hanging with Wado, and he's just such a good, kind fella, but just a funny guy too, you know. And like you look at what he was doing, which was probably just before you with Passion Pop and his stuff.
Well,
and
yeah, I was filming with that stuff.
Oh, you were? Okay. So I just remember the tone of his creations, his creative destruction stuff. He was like a dark jester. He was like, you know, like he would make you laugh, but he had this sort of dark side to him that was like a little angry, and it was cool because it was just like, you know what, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to surf this way and do this way. And then when water got serious, he was always charging, and you could see that he was a fearless guy in a lot of ways, not just in being himself at a time where the way he was himself was not the common way. You know, it, especially in Oz, it was you were sporty spice. You were basically like everything was sport, and I can relate because I was like, I don't want to be sport. I don't want to be one of those guys. But it was largely a culture that was celebrating sporting heroes. Wade was not that, but he still got he got backing, and he was supported to make fun things and do trippy stuff. And I feel like surely that rubbed off on you a little too.
Well, yeah, it was such an honor to be around Wade. I rode his coattails too, because I had my internet thing going for a while, and he started Creative Destruction with Jake. People were so confused they're like, why is Wade and Sterling like, why are they buds? Because Wade's such a dark core lord, and I was wearing glasses, and I was goofy, and people didn't realize Wade and me were like the same. But I always called him Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
He was like the Prince of Darkness. We were both rebelling in the same way, where it's just
Mm,
like kudos to Billabong at the time. I feel like they really did support all of us. I felt like we had the coolest team ever at one point,
mm,
like across the spectrum, like so many different characters. And he kind of inspired me for sure to be myself
mm,
because he never judged me. That's what was so crazy.
mm,
Like I always felt judged around everyone.
mm,
And I was so not as cool as Wade. Like I didn't have the tats and like he was so cool. But he never looked at me. Like I traveled with so many guys and it's like if I didn't fit the hipsterness, it's like we can't hang out with you. And that felt
mm,
so confusing for me. Like I think coming from Florida and where I live in Florida is actually like I live in the Gulf of Mexico, so it's even harder to be a surfer. So I feel like I was kind of lucky for my own spirit. I didn't really judge people because I'm from the bottom of the Gulf of
mm.
Florida. Like,
Makes me feel like thread that's through this yarn, through this conversation. I keep hearing you mentioning other people and your gratitude for other people who have been along for the ride in your life. What kind of advice would you give to, 12-year-old little Sterling starting on this journey when it really seems like you've had a lot of moments where people have meant a lot to you, like the things they've said or the things they've done to you or with you or for you. Like, do you think about that much? Because it seems like most of our prompts here and the things we've been talking about, you keep reflecting on someone who was there at that point in your life and the impact
yeah,
they had on you.
my mission just felt so impossible from where I was from. So if someone helped me, it was
Mm.
everything.
Mm.
Like I wasn't the golden, I didn't live in California. I didn't live, I just always felt like for me to be able to have gotten to where I was, it was always because someone put their hand out. So I don't really see myself like I'm just so lucky to just have met the people I've met. And yeah, like I just always felt lucky every time I got to go on a trip. It's like, oh, I get to leave. Like there's no waves where I live. So it's like it's a little bit of my energy, wanting it and calling it, and a
Mm.
lot of just, meeting really cool people. Like
Mm.
and also listening to that in me, like of who actually cares about you, like following that rather than trying to chase what the cool people are doing, like that could be one thing if I could tell kids is just be careful of chasing coolness because it can get you maybe it's a shortcut, but it's a dead end too. I just genuinely think if you can really be yourself and find it, but not just like dick around with it, like go for it. You have to go for it. It's not nothing's gonna just happen for you. A lot of us are kindred souls. Like whenever I saw Margot, I always felt that, like
Mm.
Margot always felt like maybe like he felt like a Gulf Coaster of the Australian world, the way he
Mm.
made it sound to me. He wasn't on the Gold Coast. Like maybe same for you, I believe. Like
Mm.
maybe that's why you're all such classic characters and kind of found yourselves.
Mm.
Mm.
I'm curious about what you see of surf culture now in Florida, Sterling. What's happening? What do you see of the young
Florida
ones
or
coming up?
everywhere.
Well, bit of both.
The algorithm is killing surfing.
Please explain.
The algorithm supports following trends, and the algorithm is king, to these kids. if to make money is views, clicks, yada, yada, yada. And to me, that's, I think the magic of the early O's was it was kind of like who's doing their thing the hardest. It was like you had so many like Dion Aegis and Dane Reynolds, and it was just like it really felt like we were starting to really find our core. And then YouTube and the algorithm. Now people are writing soft tops like that's like the board, and non-surfers are just like, oh yeah, okay, like cool, like it's like how do we use the algorithm to bring the core back, without it being like pretentious.
So if the algorithm is killing surfing as we know it, what can be the savior? What can save it?
If Kelly got hair.
That would break the algorithm.
I think we have to learn how to use it and still cherish uniqueness. Like, do you make Rasta look at Instagram?
No, I try. I really try not to. He's so pure. He's
You
so
have
pure. I love
you
that
have no
he doesn't.
idea what's happening right now.
And I rely on these conversations to enlighten me, so please do.
Well, on the podcast, we make fun of Gen Z a lot.
Dave might not
because
know what Gen Z is.
I don't know
You know
which one
Gen
that
Z
is. Who is, what age is that? How old are you if you're in that?
I'm a millennial. I think you are.
I'm a millennial.
Are you millennial?
Dave would be Gen X, I think, just a bit older.
So it's Gen X, millennial, and then Gen Z. They grew up with phones.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't really show their surfing. They're always filming before they go surf. What cologne they're spraying on themselves. Like,
Before
And they'll-
surfing?
There's nothing worse than
wants to
cologne in the
smell-
lineup.
Yeah,
That's
what
the worst.
You can smell when someone's had a shower recently when you're in the water, let alone cologne. And I always turn my nose up at those people too.
Like soap.
Yeah, soap. You're like, I actually make a point if someone paddles past me with like shampoo hair
oh yeah.
to call it out, because they'll
It's
just be
gnarly.
like, "How did you know?"
It's so strong. It's like
Yeah.
you can smell a kook from so far away.
Okay, so what about those people then? Are they implicit in the doom of surfing right now?
Well, their brains, they're captured. They're captured on trying to get follows and likes. And what's trendy is like looking like a surfer and showing before and doing a TikTok dance or something. And now they're all doing it. And it's like it's taking away the creativity.
See, these are the kind of conversations that keep me from starting a MySpace page or whatever you guys do with your fucking time now, because it just doesn't sound that fun. Like when I encounter, I'm making fun of it, but in all sincerity, most of the time when I hear people speak about the internet, it's in a whinging tone. It's like, fuck, I've got to do these posts because I've got to satisfy my sponsor thing, or I better do one today because I haven't in a few weeks and I got to keep that thing bouncing, or, oh, this is the only way we talk with our friends overseas, or there's always like this moment
Yeah.
before it. It's never with like true zest. It's never with like a deep enthusiasm. So my way of getting out of all of that is to just not participate. So what do you do? And I think of Wendell Berry. There's an amazing writer and poet in America, Wendell Berry. I urge you to read him. His writing is unbelievable. But he is an incredible activist for looking after country in America and all kinds of good stuff. But he detests movements. And he says as soon as something becomes a movement, it's doomed. You know, you've got people turning up for the sake of being in a movement or whatever,
angry.
not necessarily, they're venting things or they want to be part of something. It's not the actual center of the issue that they're there for anymore. So he doesn't like it when things like movements start taking shape. And I can't help but hear what you all are talking about, these sort of things happening on the internet with surfing and this movement of people in this certain way. It doesn't sound like it's vibrant and healthy and wonderful. So what do you do? So how do you do what you're doing without being a part of that movement?
I think why I kind of thrive in this area is I focus on making people laugh, not following whatever trend. And that's kind of been the beauty of the podcast. It gives us a
Mm.
space to just make people laugh. And I don't I don't look at Instagram for influence anymore. I only look to give. So it doesn't control my mind. I've already let it control me in my younger years. So it's like I'll just post something and it's just like I kind of treat it as almost a yoga, like I'm making people laugh. This feels good, good energy out. And I don't check back in really.
Mm.
And it's been really rewarding in that sense of using that way. Like when I went to Hawaii, it was like to be almost dead from a brain injury to people so involved in my life again, and something I said or something that made them laugh they had a hard day and they needed that laugh. It's kind of like it's special in that way. But
Mm.
it's a slippery slope. It's a double-edged sword, and
Yeah.
it's like if people can't learn to use it, it will use them.
Wonderfully said. I don't know if this will make the recording or not, but I have to tell you about surfing Kira last year with Kelly. And because I can relate to your going left story. My mum, she lives at Kira these days. So I go
Oh,
up there
really?
a fair bit with family, and we love to surf it on baby days with our little boy as a family. It's like Waikiki and stuff. And so last year I was doing a surfboard test thing, and I get there and the tide's high and there's no one out. And it's fucking pumping, sunny, beautiful offshore,
Wow.
fast Kira. And I freak out and I
Like
run.
old school.
Yeah, I park in front of my mum's basically at Kira. I run over the groin, I run down Coolangatta Beach, jump in at like Greenmount, float down, and I pass Andrew Kidman, and then I pass Slater. And I'm like, fuck, this is pretty interesting. It's like a little twilight zone.
Wow.
I get down to Big Groin. I look down the whole lineup to the end of Kira. There's like two other people out. One is my neighbour, and the other is like Jai Glinderman from Lennox,
What?
who I also surf with. It was bizarre. It was like we all just somehow, the four of us were just
Randomly
there.
show up.
Yeah, and so anyway, it's like Kidman stayed up at Greenmount. Slater comes down the line. He gets a couple beautiful waves. He's surfing like out of this world. I'm like, wow, look at that guy go. He's just incredible. And I was riding this super odd asymmetrical downstairs mix-up board. Anyway, this
Vegan
beautiful
board.
set, yeah, this vegan board, this beautiful set comes through. Kelly gets a wave, I get a wave. I think I got the first one. We're paddling back out, and he's paddling full steam, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, okay. He wants that inside position. There's only three of us out. I'm like, look at this beautiful day, isn't it beautiful? Look at the sun. How's this offshore wind? I'm like freaking out because it's just like, how could you not
Epic.
be just spewing gratitudes with it? And he's just sort of looked at me and like nodded and like, yeah, and then sort of continued like paddling and scanning the lineup like RoboCop. And I was just like, whoa, why isn't he all happy too? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, when does this ever happen in your whole life? And then anyway, we keep paddling up the line, and maybe I got a lot of head noise. Maybe he was thinking the same things. I don't know. He just wasn't showing it on the outside. But
Yeah.
then a set comes. And the first wave comes, and generally most people who have grown up here, like I have, we understand which waves in a set are the best ones. And rarely it's the first one. The first one's the burgery one that takes the water off the bank. The second one is a drainer. And the third one, if there is a third one, is like subterranean. And anyway, he's like, look at this first one. Wow, look at this first one. Oh, are you going to go this first one? And I'm like, I know what I'm looking at. It's the second one. And he's like, yeah, but look at this first one. He's like trying to sell me on this fucking first one. And I'm just like, are you serious right now? And then paddle over the first one because he knows, I know. And, it's obvious that's not the one. The second one comes and I'm like, yeah, here we go. This is the one. And I start to turn and he turns and I'm paddling for it and he's paddling for it.
Oh,
and he's
no.
like, he's the guy on the shoulder. And I'm looking at him like incredulous, like, do you not just feel like letting someone have this wave because they were the next in line, and it's okay if we both miss it. It's one for the spirits, maybe. Who knows? Whatever. It's just surfing. Anyway, I catch this wave, and he's there with me stroke for stroke to the last second just in case I miss it, which as if that's ever going to happen. I grew up surfing these fucking waves. So, anyway, I catch the wave, and it's a nice wave, and I come back out, and I'm like, wow, that guy's just relentless. And I watch him catching another couple bombs, right? And then all of a sudden people start filtering down, and people had realised, oh, it's good already. Like, you don't wait for the low tide. And the first person to come down in the drainer of drainers is Kieran Perro, another Byron kind of guy. And he gets spat out, and I'm like, wow, man, KP, how beautiful was that wave? And he's like, fuck, man, I had to work so hard to keep Slater off of it. He was paddling me like to the foam ball. And then I had like another person say the same thing. It was just baffling. I was just like, I was perplexed. I was like, holy moly, okay, you're in another dimension. Like,
once a champ, always a champ.
So anyway, when you said you're going left thing at J-Bay, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I can relate to that kind of moment. It's great.
He's a special creature, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
We need a... He's been doing a lot of ayahuasca lately. Have you heard that?
Well, he obviously didn't do any the day before that swell, because he would have been like, go, brother, go. Look at these wavelengths. He would have been psyched.
Dude, I had dinner with him a few years ago at Machado's house. I never really sat down with him before. He was really excited. He's done ayahuasca like 40 times or something.
Wow.
Dude, it was so funny watching him talk about ayahuasca, because it was like he was turning it into like catching waves. Because he's like, oh, you haven't done it? Like, no, you're supposed to do it like this. And like, if you're going to figure out the universe, you have to... And he was drawing stuff. He was drawing things. He's like, here. So if you're gonna know the whole universe, and he's like got arrows to like. And I was like, have you ever tried meditating? So he does ayahuasca, like he surfs waves.
Wow. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like he goes in.
Systematizing.
Yeah, systematizing.
Yeah.
I love it. Do you think into the future in terms of like, well, I know you must, because the provider urge for a lot of us when we have children kicks in pretty strong in terms of being able to like feed your child and house them and give them opportunities and stuff. Like, what are you going to do with yourself moving forward? Do you do your podcast and other things? Do you juggle many things?
I mean, I'm just super lucky podcasting. Coming from the surf world, no one wants to give you money. And then when you in the podcast world, people ask to give you money. And I'm just like, what is this world? Like, you want to pay us? No, no one's ever said that in the surf world.
Yeah, totally.
It's true.
Billabong would bring you into a small room, and so we dropped all your friends, and we were going to cut you, but we decided to give you a 3-year contract. You're like, okay, I'll take it. 20 grand, I'll take it. So with podcasting, it feels like a lot of opportunity. My cousin Ryan, he does all the editing and stuff, and we're kind of just sailing this ship right now. And I just feel like our heads are good, like we're doing it for the right reasons, and it is making us enough money. It's kind of nice actually getting paid for the art for the first time. Instead of like fighting surf world. I'm trying not to manifest too hard, because be careful what you wish for. Because I am feeling a lot more eyeballs on me for the first time in my life, where it's like, I'm like, oh, I haven't gone to the grocery store, and people are like, oh, and want to talk to you everywhere you go, and like, so I'm kind of like, how famous do we want to go? So we're kind of just navigating, trying to stay core lords, but be able to cash in.
Time is precious. Thanks for spending some of yours listening with us today. Our editor this season is the multi-talented Ben Jake Alexander. The soundtrack was composed by Shannon Soul Carroll, with additional tunes by Dave and Ben. We'll be continuing today's conversation on Instagram, where we're at Water People Podcast. And you can subscribe to our very infrequent newsletter to get book recommendations, questions we're pondering, behind-the-scenes glimpses into recording the podcast, and more via our website, waterpeoplepodcast.com. Do you have big Thanksgiving plans?
I'm against Thanksgiving
Why?
I've never heard anyone say that.
because Rasta told me to never celebrate it.
Who's that guy?
Are you still vegan?
No, we're a long way from that. No, that was an experiment in my 20s that I discarded.
It was like me, Shane Doran, Donovan, Parko, and you were like, you didn't want us to eat turkey. And you came in and you're looking at us like, you really gonna eat that?
Don't
I was
do
like,
it.
Rasta, I have to.
Yeah.
Scared because I cared about your opinion so much, but I was so hungry.
Yeah, I see. I don't remember that because it was such a haze of...
Nutrition deprivation.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just
It was a dysfunctional brain.
begging for omegas.
Yeah. So sorry. I apologize to anyone in that period for anything
Your
I may
heart
have
was in
said
the
or
right
done. Yeah. No, my heart was probably freaking out. Like, give me some fucking nutrition. Eating tofurkey in the corner on my own, all lonely and shit.
An aura of vegan judgmentalism just
Yeah.
emanating.
That's funny though, because well, anyway, I'll